Hey everyone, I've had a number of people ask me recently how much money in Bitcoin they should have before they start using the Coinbase debit card to make regular purchases. So the way I think about this is the most powerful aspect of using the Coinbase debit card is realizing that Bitcoin is money, that literally you can buy anything in the world with it, anywhere that accepts Visa, MasterCard, contactless payments, Apple Pay, Google Pay, literally anything. So the approach I take with the Coinbase debit card is however much you can afford to put in it, put that in Bitcoin, wait for Bitcoin to increase in value by at least 15 or 20%. If you want a little bit more of a sort of a healthy margin, maybe 20 or 25% in value, and then only spend the amount that is above whatever you put in. So let's say, I'm going to pick a number. You have $1,000 saved up and you buy Bitcoin with it, and then you sit on it and you're like, okay, I'm going to see if I can combat the effects of inflation. And so you put $1,000 in, you wait until, let's say it's up 20%. So you wait until your Coinbase balance shows 1,200, and then you very carefully, meticulously, here and there, spend it as long as you make sure that the balance does not drop below $1,000. Obviously, if it's $1,200, that means you get $200 of free spending. Now, that's not radical for most people. It's not completely life-changing to get $200 of, free living, but over the, as Bitcoin, I think, doubles or triples in price over the next, year, that gives you an extra $1,000 or $2,000 of purchasing power based on $1,000 that you put in initially. Obviously, the faster that you spend it, the less there is to accumulate upside, which means, again, my recommendation is put in as much as conceivably possible, which is what I did. So as I've recorded previous videos, I am living for free because I put in 18 months of living expenses. I calculated how much money I spent on any sort of combination of debit cards and credit cards and whatever else. And then I put 18 months of those expenses in a Coinbase account dedicated to a Coinbase debit card that I was going to use for expenses. And when 2 years ago when I did this, I put 18 months of living expenses in there. I have been using that card exclusively for virtually everything except expensive international plane tickets because they exceed the $2,500 daily limit of the Coinbase debit card. You can buy anything up to $2,500. But if I'm booking tickets for my entire family of 6 for international flights, then it exceeds obviously $2,500. So I've got to use a different debit card and I've got to liquidate some Bitcoin to do that. But, or I shouldn't say a different debit card. I typically use a credit card, for that with a much higher spending limit. And I have to, liquidate some Bitcoin to pay off that, credit card bill at the end of the month because obviously I got to pay for it somehow. And Bitcoin's how I do that. So anyway, so when I put 18 months in, I have lived for free for the last 2 years. And when I say free, what I mean is the total amount of US dollar balance in the card has stayed above the amount I put in there. And not only that, it has grown. So right now, as of this morning, I have 3 years of living expenses in that account. So in the example, in the example I gave earlier of putting $1,000 in, it's I guess it's hard to use this math because my math is based on total living expenses. But anyway, let's say you decide that you're going to put $1,000 in Bitcoin with the hope of getting $1,000 of extra purchasing power over the next year. And if that would have been the sort of equivalent of what I'm trying to do, I put 18 months of living expenses in, and the intent was to spend it slower than it appreciated in value, therefore leaving in the account constantly in a state that was higher than what I started with. The total amount of Bitcoin in the account, or the US dollar value of the Bitcoin in the account, is now twice as much as I started with. So not only have I been living for free for 2 years, the account that started with 18 months of living expenses now has the equivalent in US dollars of 3 years of living expenses. Now, the total amount of Bitcoin in the account is obviously down because I've been spending Bitcoin the entirety of the last 2 years. But the US dollar value of that Bitcoin is double what it started at. So not only have I lived for free for 2 years, but I now have, in US dollar terms, twice as much Bitcoin in US dollar terms as I started with. Or I should say, the US dollar value of the remaining Bitcoin is double what it started at. So, but again, if you're trying to sort of combat the effects of inflation, then I would say, sit down and say, well, how much money can you afford to put in Bitcoin that you absolutely are not going to need for, 6 months or 12 months or 18 months, or like something that's not going to put you in a crunch, and then put it in Coinbase as extra Bitcoin, and then wait to spend it with the Coinbase debit card until it's up at least 15 to 25%. And then just be careful with spending it so that you're not, you're not eating into sort of the principal of the amount you initially put in there. Now, you absolutely also can, put an entire paycheck in there and then just start using it immediately to buy everything you buy. But the risk you have when you do that is that, the price of Bitcoin fluctuates. So there's no guarantee between now and a week from now, or, this week or next week or whatever. There's no guarantee that the price will automatically be higher. And the position you certainly do not want to be in is that you have put a paycheck in Bitcoin, and then you are spending that paycheck of Bitcoin, and then it's actually lower than what you put it in for. So I'll be trying. Sorry, my internet went out there. So you obviously don't want to be buying Bitcoin and spending it for a price that is lower than what you bought it for. And the easiest way to avoid doing that, all right, sorry, give me a second here. Got to get situated. The easiest way to avoid doing that is just make sure the price is higher than you paid, and put enough in there that you're not cutting it tight. So anyway, that's the strategy. With starting with 18 months of living expenses, living for completely for free for 2 years, and then at the end of that time period, still having 3 years of living expenses rather than the 18 months I started with. Sorry, I'm backing up and it's super tight, so give me a second here. One second. Anyway, I think that covers everything. So let me know if you need anything, and keep the questions coming. You can send them to me via text at 601-207-0813. That number again, 601-207-0813. You can also message me on Facebook Messenger. Just make sure it's the real me. There are scam accounts that pop up from time to time. Obviously, make sure you're not interacting with one of those. And please, it's $50 of free Bitcoin is getting given away by Coinbase right now, with the at the web address of coinbase.com/ either partner or partners with an S, I can't remember which, / get 50. I've posted the link on my Facebook page, so dig it up, or I'll post it as a comment to this video. So share that with friends and family, because that is a very generous offer and not something you're going to probably see for a long time. And it's a great opportunity to get other people on board the Bitcoin train. So have a great day, everyone. Thanks.